you're a Cancer. And most people think they know what that means. Sensitive, emotional, moody. But what they don't realize is how deep it really goes. Because your feelings aren't surface level. They're full-bodied, long-lasting, and usually unspoken. You don't just feel the moment. You carry the memory, and not just your own. You remember how everyone else felt too. You remember their silence, their tone, their energy, the way something shifted even when nobody said a word. You walk into a room and sense everything that's being avoided, and while they think you're quiet, you're actually translating energy they're not even aware they're giving off. You weren't born guarded. You became that way. Because Cancer is naturally nurturing, protective, loving. You want to make people feel safe. You want home, connection, intimacy that doesn't require explanation. But that kind of love, it's risky. And you learned that early. You learned what it feels like to give and not get it back. To care and be overlooked. To be emotionally present while everyone else was emotionally distant. You gave love before people were ready for it. And when they mishandled it, you blamed yourself. So you built a shell, not to hide, but to survive. You don't share easily, not because you're dramatic, but because vulnerability has cost you. You've opened up to people who weren't ready to receive you. You've tried to express your needs and were told you were too sensitive, too intense, or too much. So now, you keep it close. You carry your own weight. You handle everyone else's emotions while quietly drowning in your own. You show up. You stay solid. You take care of people who rarely ask if you're okay. And they don't even realize what it takes for you to keep doing that. Cancer, you're not weak. You're not fragile. You're strong in ways people will never understand. Because your strength doesn't look like force. It looks like consistency, presence, loyalty that stays long after the vibe shifts. You don't quit easily. Not on people, not on love, not on anything that once felt real. But that's also your pain point. You carry things longer than you should. You try to fix what broke you. You stay in places you've outgrown just because you still care. And when you get hurt, you don't always fight. You retreat. You go quiet. You go inward. You try to process it alone, but it never really leaves. You remember everything. Not because you're petty, but because emotional memory is your language. The world forgets fast. You don't. You replay the conversation, the tone, the look. And then you wonder, was it you? Were you overreacting? Were you expecting too much? You're not overreacting. You're not crazy for feeling it all. You just haven't always been given the space to feel safely. So you learn to internalize, to comfort yourself, to shrink your feelings into something easier for others to handle. And while that makes you adaptable, it also leaves you feeling unseen. You crave love that's consistent. That doesn't flinch when you get quiet. That doesn't punish you for needing reassurance. That doesn't confuse your emotional depth for instability. You want to be known without needing to constantly explain. You want to be loved in your silence, not just when you're giving. And you want to know that someone's staying because they feel you, not just because they need you. But most people don't get that deep. They see your softness. They assume you're simple. But you're not. You're layered, private, intuitive. You pick up on things long before they're said. And that's part of the problem. You sense what's coming. You feel the shift. And when people start pulling back, you feel it in your chest before your mind even registers what's happening. That's why you protect yourself now. Not out of fear, but out of wisdom. You know what it's like to give fully and be met with half. You know what it's like to open your heart to someone who was never planning to stay. And you promised yourself, never again. But even in your protection, You still love, still hope, still want to be held the way you've held everyone else. Let's talk about your flaw, not the cliché version, not just you're too emotional or you care too much. The real one, the one that sits under your chest like weight you can't name. You love people who need healing. You fall for the potential. You stay for the history. You give beyond what's returned, not because you don't know your worth, but because you hope they'll eventually love you the way you love. And while your loyalty is beautiful, sometimes it becomes your prison. You don't leave easily. You don't detach quickly. You don't give up just because things get hard. You fight for people, for love, for peace. You're the one who shows up, holds space, remembers the little things. But over time, when that energy isn't matched, you start to feel like you're slowly disappearing in the name of being there for someone else. You sacrifice your needs. You silence your instincts. You convince yourself that if you just give them more time, more patience, more grace, they'll see you. They'll show up. They'll stay. But they don't always. And the hardest part for Cancer is realizing that no matter how much you give, you can't make someone feel what they're not ready to feel. You can't love someone into emotional availability. You can't keep abandoning yourself and expect it to feel like home. So what do? You withdraw. Not suddenly, slowly. You stop sharing. You stop reaching out. You stop asking for anything. And when they notice the distance, they call you cold, moody, or confusing. But the truth is, you already tried everything. You already communicated. You already compromised. And now, you're just protecting what's left. This is how you sabotage your own peace. You stay in relationships where you're constantly nurturing but rarely being poured into. You take on the emotional labor. You become the parent, the fixer, the therapist, when all you really wanted was a partner. You confuse responsibility with love. And by the time you realize how much of yourself you've lost in the process, it feels too late to walk away clean. You tell yourself, but they need me. And maybe they do. But the question is, who's been there for you? Who do you go to when you're tired of being strong? Who do you cry to when everyone assumes you're the one who has it together? Because being the caretaker doesn't mean you don't need care. And loving deeply doesn't mean you have to bleed for it. You want security, not just financially or physically, emotionally. You want to know someone's not going to change on you overnight, that they'll stay when the energy shifts, that they won't use your feelings against you, that they can sit with your silence and not take it personally. You want to be able to breathe around someone and feel like you're not walking on eggshells or performing peace just to keep them from leaving. But that starts with you. You can't expect others to show up for you in ways you're still afraid to ask for. You can't keep waiting for someone to finally see you while you're hiding the parts of yourself that need love the most. You've been showing up for people your whole life. Now it's time to show up for you. The healing begins when you stop equating love with sacrifice. When you stop calling someone home just because they're familiar. When you finally realize that love shouldn't make you feel like you're always one emotional outburst away from losing it all. Your glow-up isn't loud. It's quiet. It's soft boundaries. It's walking away without explaining. It's feeling the urge to caretake and choosing to sit with yourself instead. It's honoring your energy before anyone else's. And it's finally choosing a version of love that doesn't drain you, but restores you. Cancer doesn't rush. Not because you can't move fast, but because you know how deeply things hit once they land. You don't just go through life. You absorb it, feel it, remember it. And that's why emotional timing matters for you more than most. Because if you move before you're ready, you feel unsafe. But if you stay too long in something that's already expired, You start to lose yourself in the comfort of what's no longer alive. So how do you know when it's time to shift? You follow the rhythm, not just of your heart, but of your cycle. Let's calculate your personal year. Take your birth month and day and add it to the current year. Say you were born July 2nd, 2006, and it's 2025. 7 plus 2 plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 equals 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. That would make 2025 a personal year 9. Here's what the 9-year cycle looks like for someone like you. Someone who feels before they act. Year 1 is a new beginning, a clean slate. You may feel shaky here, excited but unsure. But it's the year you plant seeds. Not everything will bloom yet. Just trust your direction. Year 2 is emotional, sensitive, deepening. It tests your trust in people and timing. You'll feel slow, but that's the point. It's not a year for rushing. It's a year for building faith in connection. Year 3 brings lightness, creativity. You'll be asked to express yourself. You may feel pressure to get it together, but this year is more about exploration than perfection. Year 4 is structure, boundaries, foundation. This one is heavy but necessary. You may feel like you're carrying more than you can hold, but it's building your long-term stability. Year 5 is change, freedom, unexpected shifts. You'll want control, but this year asks you to surrender. If you flow with it, you find new alignment. If you resist it, it gets loud. Year 6 is love, family, decisions. You'll be asked to choose, not just relationships, but values. Who are you really building with? Who's draining your peace? What needs to stay? Year 7 is spiritual, quiet. You'll feel like the world is moving without you. But that's on purpose. This is an inner growth year. It brings depth, not applause. Stillness, not spotlight. Year 8 is power, momentum, results. But it also brings emotional tests. You'll be asked to lead, but from clarity, not control. You can't force this year, but you can rise in it. Year 9 is release, endings, closure. You don't initiate in this year, you complete. What breaks now is meant to. What leaves now frees you. Don't cling, let go, then you reset. Year 1 again. New you, new path, new rhythm. So if you're in year 9 right now, it's about shedding. This isn't the time to start everything over. It's the time to listen, observe, let what wants to leave, leave. Stop trying to revive things that are emotionally bankrupt. Let the silence reveal what's real. If you're in year 6, relationships are front and center. You're being asked to get real about loyalty, love, and alignment. Not just who you care about, but who cares for you in return. Make decisions from your emotional truth, not your comfort zone. If you're in year 4 or 7, you'll feel heavy, internal, maybe even lonely. But it's sacred. You're being fortified. This is when you remember who you are, without the noise. Stay present, stay slow. You're building resilience that doesn't rely on external validation. If you're in year 5, prepare for a shift. Things may fall away fast. But Cancer, you're not losing. You're being redirected. Let it happen. The more you try to control this year, the more it resists you. Trust that what's leaving is making space for something softer. And if you're in year 1, it's your rebirth. You get to dream again, lead again, love again, but this time with boundaries. You don't have to bring your old fears into your new season. Here's what to avoid this year. Staying in familiar pain just because it feels safer than unknown healing. Letting your emotional loyalty override your inner knowing. Trying to keep it together for others while your soul is quietly begging for release. Here's what to embrace. Moving slower than the world wants you to. Letting go without needing a villain. choosing softness as your power, not your weakness. Because Cancer, your timing is sacred. You don't need to explain why something doesn't feel right anymore. You just need to honor the feeling. You've held space for so many others. This is your season to hold space for yourself. So what happens if you don't evolve? If you keep loving people into their potential, but keep ignoring your own? If you keep holding space for everyone else's pain, but never let anyone in far enough to hold yours? If you keep showing up with a full heart to people who only know how to take from it? You'll keep being the strong one, the reliable one, the one who always texts first, the one who forgives quietly, the one who carries the weight and never complains until you're alone, and it's just you, and the parts of yourself you've silenced to keep the peace. You'll be surrounded by people, but you'll feel emotionally homeless, because nobody will truly know what it costs you to stay so soft in a world that keeps trying to harden you. You'll keep building homes in people who don't stay. Keep turning your intuition down so you don't have to admit what you already know. Keep replaying moments that should have been enough reason to walk away, but you stayed anyway. Because love to you has always been a responsibility. But what if you stopped? What if you stopped mothering people who should have never had access to your heart? What if you stopped confusing guilt with love, silence with peace, comfort with compatibility? What if you stopped trying to heal people who were only meant to pass through, not build with you? Everything would change. You'd start showing up for yourself the way you always have for everyone else. You'd start calling your intuition truth, not paranoia. You'd stop waiting for people to match your loyalty and start choosing people who naturally do. You'd learn to sit in your own energy without shame. You'd feel your anger, your exhaustion, your need for rest, and you wouldn't apologize for it. You'd protect your softness without shutting it down. You'd let go without needing to explain why you're not coming back, and slowly, your nervous system would stop bracing for abandonment. Your heart would stop clinging to what feels familiar but hurts. Your spirit would finally breathe. Because Cancer, you were never meant to carry this much. You were never meant to love from a place of fear. You were never meant to prove your worth through sacrifice. You were meant to be chosen, not when it's convenient, not when you're giving, but just as you are. Your glow-up doesn't look like cutting everyone off. It looks like checking in with yourself before everyone else. It looks like saying no before resentment builds. It looks like giving yourself the care you begged others to give you. And realizing you're actually really good at loving you. You don't have to shrink to be held. You don't have to stay quiet to stay safe. You don't have to show up for people who never ask how your heart is doing. You get to evolve softly, cleanly, permanently. You get to become someone who doesn't overextend, who doesn't chase closure, who doesn't confuse suffering with soulfulness. You get to be whole, not because you've healed perfectly, but because you finally stopped breaking for people who never knew what to do with your pieces. You're a Cancer. Your love is sacred. Your energy is medicine. Your presence is home. And the right ones, they'll never make you feel like you have to earn what's already yours.